Hello, I am Jan from Prague, the Czech Republic, and today we are testing the Xiaomi 17T to see how it performs in photography. I've got around 200 sample photos from all kinds of places and situations, from the picturesque streets of Prague to the autumn scenery in the mountains of Moravia. We'll see who's the most likely to appreciate this phone and how it compares to its more powerful sibling, the Xiaomi 17T Pro. And as always, I suggest we start with an overview of technical specs of this mobile phone. Obviously, the most important lens, most important sensor would be the main one. It has 23mm and 50 megapixels. And here are some examples. And I'll show you many more of them, but this is just a very brief introduction into what to expect from this mobile phone and obviously from its main sensor. Streets of Prague, and here is my dog patiently waiting in a park outside of the city center. I'll show you many more details. We'll discuss portrait mode and how to make some changes in its setting, but again, this is just a very quick introduction to give you some first impression of which sort of photos should you be expecting during daylight or even during night. Again, you'll see many more examples, not only from the old streets of Prague, but also from the mountains of Moravia. What is the difference between Xiaomi 17 and Xiaomi 17T Pro? And from the photography point of view, the difference is in the size and the type of the main sensor. In the case of Xiaomi 17T, the sensor is slightly smaller, which means that the potential of the Pro version is, as always, slightly bigger. Here are some photos from the Xiaomi 17T Pro, and if you frankly ask me, do I see the difference, then I will probably say yes, I do see it. And I think simply the Pro version, well, it's Pro, so it should not be that surprising, gives you slightly better results in some of the situations. It's not crucial, but it's there. So if you are about to decide and you do not have to save the money, I would probably prefer Pro version. But then we have the telephoto lens, and it should be stressed that in the case of telephoto lens, the lens and the sensor is the same, like in the case of the Pro version, which is great. It was not the case in most of the past generations. So yes, it's great that you do not actually have to get a Pro if you need to zoom. We'll see how it performs when you use it for digital zooming. We'll see in a couple of minutes, but this is just a brief introduction, couple of examples of what to expect from the 5x optical zoom. This is one of the really strong features of the Xiaomi 17T, that it has this telephoto lens. It opens up a lot of options. And then we have the ultra-wide lens, and once again, it's the same piece of hardware as we have in the Pro version. So it's important to note that the only notable difference is in the main sensor, but the rest of the hardware, rest of the specs is very similar. So it's again important to note, and these are examples from ultra-wide lens, which typically I really like because it gives me a lot of freedom to squeeze as much of things into the frame as I want. Yes, it's not for everyday use, but still, it's certainly interesting and worth experimenting with. Now let's test zooming. So these are, again, my favorite testing places in the old town square, and we can go from ultra-wide up to 120 times. Yes, of course, this is a deeply digital zoom, so ultra-wide going up towards 120 times. Well, it's not bad at all, I have to say, but if you see how big distance it is. One more example at one of my favorite testing places. So we are going again from the ultra wide up to 120, and we are able to see all these incredible details in the windows of famous dancing house. One more case, zooming to the clock, and pretty much a lot of details again. What I always like to test and use in the case of many mobile phones is portrait mode. It's sometimes neglected, it's sometimes overlooked by many users, but it gives us a great thing, which is the blurred background. I know it's artificial, I know it's done by algorithms, but it gives your photos the feeling of space, the feeling of 3D. But if you overdo it, like I did it here, there is one incredibly important feature that you are able to reset it, or you're able to change the level of blur. And it's very easy. You simply edit the photos and you change that F number, which actually simulates the aperture value, which you might know from traditional cameras. You can see from these examples that it can really help the photos. You actually, not only that you're able to change it, you're able to refocus the shot, which again might help you. And here is the difference. Again, the reasonable value would probably be lying somewhere in between, but I wanted you to see that you are really able to influence a lot. Or one more example would be here. It's not as visible, but still it is there, and you can really help your photos a lot. So please do know that once you are experimenting with portrait mode, which you definitely should, because when you see these photos, it's amazing. And let me just remind you that this is one of the key principles of photography, that you should be trying to keep the 3D effect in your photos, because it definitely helps them. So do not be scared, do not be afraid to use the portrait mode, but do know that yes, indeed, you are able to change the F number simulation, which is right here. The aperture is different and it's really visible on the shots. Here is the result. So you can either keep it blurred or you can regulate the blurriness. It's again up to you. There is one feature which is quite useful, but people often overlook it, and it's the option to use the full resolution. And you can see it here. I can either use it with the main lens, main sensor. You will not actually see it here, but once you do crop from these shots, you clearly see that the level of details is much bigger. Same here, the 5x optical zoomed. Once you zoom to the clock, it immediately becomes clear that you are simply receiving many more details. Please do remember this option is there, and sometimes, especially in scenes like that, it can really help you a lot. And of course, once you start using this mobile phone, you'll need to decide whether you'll be using style Leica Vibrant or Leica Authentic. It should be noted that in this review, I'm strictly using Leica Vibrant because I like it more. It has really more vivid colors. Of course, you're able to use a wide range of filters, and again, here are some examples of what you can get on one spot within a couple of seconds. Well, I do not really use them much. I do not really like these filters, but honestly, more I test mobile phones, more I'm inclining to that perhaps in future I might use some of them, because frankly, some of these results are nice, especially when you have some black and white versions of the shots, or in some cases, the colors are really, really very interesting. Like you can see from these shots and these examples of the famous Charles Bridge in downtown Prague. One of the features I really like when I am testing mobile phones is the night photography, or to be precise, not night photography strictly speaking, but photography during so-called blue hour, which you can see here. It's roughly 20 minutes after sunset, and it's the moment when our eyes see everything grey and boring, but the sensor is still able to see the blue tones in the sky, and simply are receiving these amazing effects and amazing shots. So please do not forget to use it. It applies to any mobile phone you might have in your pocket. So do test it, do try, do Google what blue hour is, and you certainly will open up new opportunities. And now I invite you for a long trip through Prague and the mountains of Moravia. So I'm going to show you a couple of dozens of shots. Some of them you've already seen, some of them would be new. And once again, I do have to apologize because I'm really going in a huge pace. Because the point is not to show you shots from the Charles Bridge, not, you've probably seen it before, but to give you a chance to see as many photos as you can in a couple of minutes. Because I really think once you have the option to see examples in very quick pace. You'll get some impression from what to expect from this mobile phone. Once again, downtown Prague, surroundings of Old Town Square, and we are testing different angles, different lenses, and yes, of course, Charles Bridge in summertime. Beautiful churches in downtown Prague in direct summer light. And sometimes I had a feeling that maybe if Xiaomi made the vibrant style slightly less vibrant, that it would be great, but it's just a very small detail. Some very typical scenes from downtown and National Theatre, and a lot of shadows, lot of colors, lot of shade, lot of sun. And again, my favorite testing locations near the Vltava River and beautiful panoramas of Prague Castle in beautiful light, beautiful summer, and amazing colors. And if you are bored by streets of Prague, let's relax for a couple of seconds with our dog. And yes, of course, once again, I am testing what to expect from portrait mode. And now let's move from heat of city to peaceful greenery outside of Prague and then in the mountains of Moravia. And if you've seen some of my reviews, you know that I do indeed like details. I like photographing flowers and some interesting colorful scenes like here and beautiful colors of this historic vehicle. And a couple of details in the mountains after rain drops on this nut and tree and many colors. And final shot of this review is a beautiful part of mountains just at the sunset and just after a huge rain. So the road is shining and everything is perfect and great. So you will definitely like the results if you have the option to be at similar scenes like I was. And finally, as always, let me show you a couple of examples of videos. And I have to apologize again because I'm really not good at evaluating videos. Well, in the case of still photography, that's my field. I'm able really to tell you what is good, what is bad. But in the case of videos, the best thing I am able to do is exactly the thing I am doing right now. So I'm showing you some examples of video clips and, well, I'm letting you to decide if you like them or not. Do not be afraid to use it. I'm using it, by the way, in the HDR, so the light is shining, the colors are beautiful. So do try it, do test it, and, well, you probably will not be disappointed. So, thank you so much for your attention. I hope you liked the video. Take care. I am Jan from Prague, the Czech Republic.